Hey, how you all going? It's Jai, that Aussie metal guy here with crank.com and with that metalstation.com. We're out of the US. And today I'm getting to have a chat with Fallen Stars. His latest album, Execution, is due June 18th. Cheers for joining me. We got Rose, Edison, and Dave. Did you all want to say g'day?
Hi, everyone. G'day.
Yeah, g'day. There we go. I knew I'd get one of you into it.
I won't try to butcher the accent, but g'day. How's it all going?
Yep. Thank you for having us.
That's all good there, Dave, because I'm used to butchering just about every name that I attempt to say, especially in interviews. So thanks for joining me. Did you just want to go through and just quickly introduce yourselves as well for the audio and tell us a little bit about yourselves, the instrument you play for the band?
Certainly. Hi, I'm Rose. I'm the lead vocalist of Fallen Stars. I'm also the main lyricist of the band.
My name is Edison. Hello, everyone. And I play guitar for Fallen Stars.
Hi, everybody. My name's Dave. I play guitar, mainly rhythms, and I do production within the band.
Yeah, cool. So how can I ask? I know you've been around since 2015, but I've just kind of come across you through Jade, interviewing her for Blood of the Phoenix and their latest EP that's coming out. So can you tell me a little bit about the history of Fallen Stars, kind of how you started and up to this point? You can jump in between yous if you like.
Oh, certainly. Well, Fallen Stars originated as a project that Jade did as a solo creation. We were living together in a trailer on Vancouver Island, just a little shack of a place. And she wanted to put out this original music and didn't have any vocals for it or a vocalist for it, mind you. And I encouraged her to put her own vocals on it, and she'd released it. It was successful in its own right, though she wanted to bring that full band sound to it, which is when she reached out to me. We'd moved back to Vancouver by then, and she asked me to jump on the project as a vocalist. And then we reached out to some of the other members of the music community in Vancouver that we knew, asking them if they wanted to be a part of this kind of new eclectic project. And funny story is we actually all officially met one another for the first time at our first photo shoot.
Oh, okay. Then what was that like?
Hey, Dave, did you want to answer that one?
Well, yeah, because it's funny enough. I've known Jade and I've known Rose just from the local Vancouver scene for a previous couple of years, just working with my other band, and then out of the blue, Jade messaged me and said, "Hey, I want you to be a part of this thing," and I said, "Perfect." I had just switched my work, my schedule, and I was eager for another project, and it just kind of happened to come along, and it was good timing. And then, like Rose said, we all got together for a photo shoot, and that was kind of the first time we all were actually in the room together. Of course, I knew Jade and Rose, and Danny, our drummer, had been my other band had gone on tour with his other band, and he had filled in a couple days. And so, I mean, we hadn't seen each other since the tour. So I was like, "Oh shit, what's up?" Blah, blah, blah. And then the previous lead guitarist I hadn't met before. So that was my first time meeting him. But yeah, I mean, like pretty much right away, it just kind of clicked. It was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Here we are." It was like nothing. There had been no time between anything.
Totally. And same thing when Edison joined the band as well. That was quite recently, but I mean, I'll let you speak for yourself.
Yeah. Actually, I was contacted by Jade last December about whether if I was interested in joining the band, and I was like, "Sure." I've been in the band thing for almost 10 years now, so I figured might as well try out again. And you never know what happens when you say no. So here I am, and I'm enjoying the process.
Yeah. So when did you join, Edison?
I officially joined early February, late January this year.
Okay.
And then yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so were you around for the recording? Tell us a little bit about your recording and production process for this latest album. Were you able to get on the album as well, or?
By the time I joined, I wasn't on the album, but some of the tracks from the album is actually what convinced me to join the band. It's like, because some of the materials are so strong, it's like, well, you'll be missing out if you don't play this. So there you go. I'll let the others explain the whole process of the album.
Yeah, the album, I did most of the recording, minus the vocals. Jade and Rose did the vocals on their own. But honestly, like the drums were done, started September 2019. I think all the instrumentals for the tracks were all done, I believe, by like February 2020. And then, of course, all this happened, and here we are, and talking on Zoom. But yeah, so the instrumentals were all pretty much done in the bag, and then it was Rose and Jade really taking the extra time to really hammer out, not just have a person singing over a track, kind of, giving a performance, giving something extra, and just going that extra little bit, extra mile. And so that took the most of the time. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we were lucky that during the pandemic and during all this stuff that myself and the previous guitar player, we all have at home rigs, right? So just trade ideas fairly quickly, and Jade's the same way. So it's a lot of it was done and mixed and finished in isolation, and it worked out. And on top of that, we have another record that we did during the first bits of the pandemic. There's another 3-song EP ready to go that just needs vocals. So
it seems to be the way. A lot of bands did have that hassle with that conundrum of what do we do? We've got this album ready to go, and just the pandemic 2020 hit and world kind of went to shit. So it's kind of, let's spend a little more time on this album, and let's try and use this time creatively, i.e. finishing off albums we've got and then working towards the next one. I find it really encouraging talking to a lot of bands, and they're like, look, we've got this album ready to go, but we've also got another one ready to fucking go because we've been so bloody busy during this time. And it's great to see bands kind of using this format. I know it's not like you can all get in a gig room sometimes, but then it also makes it better because we've all got lives. We've all got busy lives at times, and sometimes it's not easy to get the whole band into a gig room at times. So it kind of, I'm looking forward to where it goes as well with bands. Maybe it does get more creative, and they use these kind of formats going forward too.
And I'm interested. Sorry to keep going, but I'm curious to see what kind of comes out of all this, because everybody and their fucking grandmother is saying, oh, I can't wait for shows. You know how many of those fucking people were at a local show before any of this shit? Fucking none. So it's interesting because you especially see a lot of the Twitch, the gaming, streaming, all like how this whole thing has just bloomed into something completely different. And I mean, it's not going to go away, like 90s hikes, but like 70% or 65 or whatever it may be of people are permanently glued to a phone or a TV or a computer. So I mean, it's not going away, so it's only going to manifest itself, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there's this need for live shows that people are getting out. I know here in Australia when shows are being announced, and we haven't got any internationals, but we've got some top heavy metal bands here in Australia, and they're festivals that were selling out quick. And I don't want people to go back to that old habit of not buying tickets and supporting your local show. Going forward, you may not get internationals in whatever country you are, but that gives you more time to support the local scene, get along to these shows, and really help kick it off again. Because we know that bands like yourselves have been impacted by this. Playing a show isn't just playing a show. It's that connection with fans, selling merch, and there's a whole lot more, and there's a whole industry behind the live industry, and everybody needs to get behind it and support their local scene, regardless of where the hell you are in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Rose, can you tell me a little bit about the songwriting process for the lyrics that you and Jade were working on?
Certainly.
About that whole process.
Well, when we first started the band, Jade had come up with a couple of songs that we put together, mixed it up a little bit now that my vocals were on them, changed things up, and it really inspired the way that I started writing for the rest of our material, which is from a storyteller's perspective. It's not always like myself speaking to an audience, it's almost like a character or a story, and something that people can relate to in their own lives in whatever way it relates to them. So a lot of the time, the band will come up with some sort of really wicked riff or an instrumental while we're jamming, or they're at home and they'll just send something and be like, hey, let's write to this. And then we'll come up with some kind of, like Jade and myself will come up with some sort of theme that we want to talk about, or what kind of message we want to say. And then I'll craft the lyrics sort of around that.
Yep. So how long did that take you? Did you spend a lot of the 2020 going through that, or was it a gradual process, or was it something you locked in and were like, okay, let's smash this out of the park?
It's sort of like every time we want to work on a record, we end up writing 10 new songs that are going to be on the record afterwards. And it's like we haven't stopped writing since we started the band. I think we've got at least 30 songs in our repertoire that we can just kind of bust into and start playing. And there's probably only, after this album comes out, I think 10 of them that have been officially released.
Yep.
So the biggest struggle obviously is what do we put on the album and then what's going to be on the next ones. And
yeah, and I've had a listen to the track Trial by Fire off of that I got sent over. Can you tell me a little bit about that track? Jade sent it to me to have a little bit of a listen. Check this out and a few other things. So yeah, tell us about that track.
Oh, that one. I love that track. It's one of our older songs, actually. We'd done a live off the floor release that we've got up on Spotify, which was kind of a funny story getting into. We got a message from a recording engineer student needing a band to come in for a project. And we said, hey, yeah, we can come in. We couldn't hear anything. We couldn't hear each other in the room. It was so loud. there was no proper click. But we got it done.
a little bit chaotic. No, now that you bring that up, I totally forgot about that session, because we went in and we there was no amps in the room. There was nothing. It was all bust out to the control room. And Jade was Rose was on the one side, all sequestered off, because obviously you can't get the drums into her mics. And then we're playing with headphones. We can't hear anything. Drummer can't hear anything. We just look around like, fuck it, here we go, whatever. Feels like a live gig.
Oh yeah, and it's such a raw song when it first started. And I'd originally wrote it about the Salem witch hunt and the Salem witch trials, and kind of the perspective of being that person on trial. But through that, and through performing it over the last 2 years that we've had this song written, it's evolved into so much more than that. There's so many other themes and ideas that kind of people have attached to in the lyrics, and it's become something greater than that. And I find it so cool. It's definitely one of my favorites on the album.
Yeah.
And through recording, we added all these background vocals that make it just sound so much more rad.
Yeah, he's got a really cool sound that can, cater to the people in the hard rock scene, but also metalheads like me. I love rock. Don't get me wrong, but this has got a really cool sound that you can stick there with your metal as well, and it can kind of cater to both audiences. And I've got to watch a few of those covers. Edison, you were playing guitar on those as well, and I think it's cool that you're doing those covers, because some of those tracks on there, I probably wouldn't go check out a Justin Bieber. He's not really my biggest thing, but you've done it really good in that Beyonce track, and a few of those other covers were really well done. And I think it's good to cater to some of those audiences that are all about the YouTube and things like that. But those audiences too, I want them to get over and buy albums as well, not just sit there on the streaming cycles and the Spotify's. And I do harp on this on a lot of bloody interviews. I know Spotify will run me over one day, but just because you like a band, you listen to them on Spotify, that's not total support, in my opinion. If you're just listening to a band on Spotify, it's like, are you really supporting the band? Going over, and especially as we're talking about live shows, I know in Canada it's probably going to be a little bit till you're kicking off. I don't know what the circumstances are like over there, but it's more important for people to go over and buy merch, buy albums when bands drop them as well, for the local scene and bands like yourselves, because Spotify doesn't do a heck of a lot for artists. So, you
So
know,
true.
when you can hit up the platforms like Bandcamp or your website, I know you do have a fallenstars.com website, and you're buying merch straight off the bands, or you're going through Bandcamp and you're buying music like that. For me, that's about supporting the scene and getting along to those live shows.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That's really the hardest thing. And I don't know what the scene in Australia is like. I met a lot of Australians in Vancouver because obviously it's a destination, but yeah, it's kind of sad, the scene here. It's so limited already before the pandemic, and now like we don't know what's even going to be open here, and it's a shame. It's the biggest shame, just because like public or not just the arts, but specifically like rock, metal, extreme music, whatever it may be, even hip hop here, like even hip hop shows, zero attendance. You know what I mean? It's just people don't go out. Like the only thing that's happening is fucking DJs and karaoke,
USBJs. And people paying to see somebody play someone else's music. Isn't that annoying?
Pretty much.
Oh yeah, there's nothing worse than when you play a show and it's dead, and 10 o'clock rolls around, the DJ comes on and suddenly the place is packed.
Yeah, he puts in his little USBJ and he's like, "Oh, I'm ready for the night." Guitars. I got to ask about guitars. What guitars are you using at the moment?
Edison, you want to go first?
Currently, my main one I use for the band is an ESP. That's kind of like you know what? I'm showing it on to camera, right? As well.
Yeah, do it, man.
Yeah, I'm just doing the same thing here.
Yeah, here we go. It's nice. It's kind of like a weird PRS copy, but it's from ESP. Cool. I got it from a buddy of mine. He's like, I don't want to play guitar anymore. It's like, do you want it? He's like, yeah, of course, I'll take it.
Free guitar? No, I don't want that.
No. Exactly, right?
Then I play a variety of guitars, but this is my recording guitar, just a Les Paul Studio, heavily modded. So I've got what's called not John Paul Jones. What's the other guy from Led Zeppelin? The
Page.
Page,
Page.
The coked out dickhead.
Jimmy.
Yeah, him. I can't fucking stand Led Zeppelin if you don't. Anyways,
you gotta call a spade.
Yeah, right. So a whole bunch of trick pickup options. I play a wide variety of guitars. Mainly I like 7 strings, mainly like Jacksons. The only 6 strings I have anymore, I sold off like everything I had. The only 6 strings I have now are just Gibsons. I just like the classic, really the classics, the Les Pauls, the Tellys, the Strats, that kind of stuff. And they're timeless, right? So
yeah. Can't go wrong with them. They always have good tone.
And they always hold their value, most importantly, because I'm a frugal fuck. You can always resell it.
Exactly.
That's it. Off the Execution album, which drops June 18th, I've got to ask, which track are you guys most excited about unleashing on the world that hasn't been?
I have 3 favorites.
Go for it.
It's hard to narrow it down. Trial by Fire is definitely one of them. It's such a bop. And then November, our kind of ballad on the album. I just love the production that was put into it that makes the song sound so grand. And oh my goodness, I said 3, but there's technically 4. But I'm sure it'll come up with you guys talk about it. But Vicious Cycle, our first single off the album, is definitely one of my favorites. It's got so many changes throughout the song. It's even got a key change in there. There's some heavier vocals. It's just really cool. And we've got a music video coming out for that one a few days before, on June 11th.
I think by far my 2 favorites that I'm really excited to get out are True Love, mainly because we don't play it. We have a guest vocalist from Mexico who sings on it, who plays in another fantastic band called Lost Nebula. If you haven't heard about them, they're phenomenal.
So good.
So yeah, it's the guest vocal. It's a longer song, but it incorporates a lot of things that we don't do. We don't play it live. So I'm really excited for that one, just to be kind of out there. As well as, I mean, Vicious Circles. We played it a million billion times live, but it's not in the Spotify universe, so people can't hear it. And then, yeah, I really like one of my favorite songs, and kind of like one of the whole reasons I really wanted to join this band years ago, because like all the other bands I played in are just like straight death metal, brutal, technical, whatever it may be. And then I didn't want to join another band like that. I wanted to join a band that just is poppy, just plays with different people. So I'm not, you know, dividing the same audience to go see two bands I'm in that nobody cares about. You know what I mean? So Trial by Fire is like, hands down one of my favorites. It's so poppy, it's so catchy, and it's so different than a lot of the other stuff we play. And that's why I really, to this day, like that's why I really like this band, is that pop element that's thrown in there.
I'd say I have about three favorite songs that I want to unleash, I guess. First one, it's basically the song that I listened to where I sort of have some sentimental value to it, because it was the first song that I officially heard from the song list that Jade sent me. And it was Time Ticks On, which is an instrumental guitar thing. And as a guitar player, I always love my instrumentals, but unlike most instrumentals, it's actually not that boring, and it's actually super melodic and can sing to it. And then if Time Ticks On is the one that sort of makes me want to like play with the band, Vicious Cycle will probably be the one to seal the deal, because that song is, there's so many surprising changes to it, good harmonies, and then I don't want to spoil it for everyone, because there's some really cool surprises in there. As Dave said, True Love's amazing song as well. At first, when I saw the track list, it's like, oh, it's that long, and then listen to it from beginning to end, it just flows so well. So I really like that one as well.
Awesome. Awesome, guys. We'll wrap it up. Execution drops June 18th. Everyone, you can chuck in some pre-orders, I believe, over on the website and things like that. Yeah. Jump over to the website, chuck in some pre-orders. It's going to be on Bandcamp, I believe, as well, for nerds like me that like to buy albums. You know, even the digital copy I like to buy and be able to play as well and support the band. So everyone, grab Execution when it drops June 18th. It's a ripping album. Any last words, shout outs, thank yous you'd like to add in there?
Yeah, well, thank you again for having us on the show. Thanks Australia for listening to some of our music. That's like the entire country / continent. And mom and dad, love you. Oh, and my little boy, Alicio. I can't forget him. I've got an almost 8-year-old, and he just loves rocking out to heavy metal and hard rock.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having us. I'm stoked just to get this music outside of our little bubble, and I'm stoked people listen to it. That's all I could ever want.
Awesome.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. Thank you all for giving us this opportunity on your platform. I can't wait to unleash this music, and stay tuned because we will have a lot more.
Yeah, a lot more.
Yep. Awesome. Edison, Rose, Dave, Fallen Stars, thank you very much. You have a great day.
Cheers. Have a good one.
Cheers.